Last year, it was the sweeper. Before that, it was the cutter. This year, the splitter is the new trending pitch. In 2024, the splitter was thrown 3% of the time by MLB pitchers. This is the highest rate it's ever been thrown, and with still over a month left in the season, we've already seen more splitters thrown in 2024 than any other season in the StatCast era. Why is it being thrown so much? Well, last season, it was dominant, and pitchers started to catch on to the trend. Last season, splitters in the league produced a 32% strikeout rate, surpassing even the popular sweeper. MLB hitters managed just a 199 batting average against splitters, which also led to a staggering -74.3 run value. Known for its effectiveness against both right and left-handed batters, the splitter has become a crucial weapon in a game increasingly dominated by high 90s fastballs, as pitchers look for new ways to gain an advantage. The pitcher who might have popularized the modern splitter is Kevin Gausman. He's thrown the most splitters in baseball over the last 2 years, and his approach is different to splitter throwers of the past. In the past, splitter throwers used a wide grip with their pointer and middle finger holding the widest portion of the baseball. This was effective but didn't serve much of a different purpose than other off-speed pitches. Gausman's unique splitter, however, profiles differently than the traditional off-speed pitch. Due to his unique grip, he's actually able to get this pitch to break armside, which is unusual for an off-speed pitch.
It's a funky grip. Like I want to feel all the pressure on this side of my finger. You know, like the last thing that's touching is this side of my middle finger. And that's why, like, consistency wise, it goes this way more than it does this way.
This new style of splitter moves similarly to a screwball, which has been an abandoned pitch in MLB due to its difficulty and link with arm injuries. He realized how valuable this pitch was against lefties because it complements his sinker by moving away from the batter, unlike most off-speed pitches that break towards left-handed hitters. In baseball, there's usually an advantage for hitters when facing a pitcher of the opposite hand. For example, a left-handed hitter against a right-handed pitcher can anticipate sliders and off-speed pitches breaking towards them. In contrast, when a right-handed hitter faces a right-handed pitcher, those pitches break away from them, making them significantly harder to hit. This is why MLB managers often prefer to match hitters against pitchers of the opposite hand. So when Gausman found a splitter that moves armside, it has created a huge advantage for him against lefty batters. In 2021, he increased his splitter usage against lefties from 26.2% to 37.8%. Lefties hit an abysmal 144 against this pitch and whiffed 45.6% of the time. This led to Gausman being able to dominate both sides of the plate and having a breakout season at the age of 30, where he made his first career All-Star game and was 4th in baseball in strikeouts. He continued his use of the splitter and has since been one of the best pitchers in baseball. His variation of the splitter has started a revolution in baseball. As it's gotten attention across the league, many pitchers have tried replicating this and have had huge success. Tanner Houck, right-handed pitcher of the Boston Red Sox, had an up-and-down career until he revamped his splitter. Tanner Houck got rocked by lefties in the past due to his sidearm pitching angle making it easy for them to read his sweeper and cutter breaking into them. This made him one of the worst qualifying pitchers in baseball in 2023, as he allowed 11 home runs and an .858 OPS against lefties. The Red Sox were at the point where they couldn't trust Houck against lefties, and they wanted to move him to the bullpen to avoid him having to face lefties at all. They told Houck to be a starter, he needed a new pitch or to redevelop one of his current pitches to be more effective against lefties. In the offseason, he revamped his splitter and added more drop, going from 34.6 inches of drop to 38.1. He worked on his grip and release point, really allowing the ball to break off his middle finger and move armside similar to Gausman's splitter. This overlay shows his splitter and sinker, and you can see both pitches look the same out of the hand, but then the splitter drops out of nowhere and breaks armside 5 miles an hour slower. Houck realized how nasty his splitter was and felt he could really rely on it more. He increased his splitter usage from 11.4% to 24.9%. Then specifically against lefties, he throws this pitch more, throwing it 38.6% of the time. While it excels at creating swings and misses, it's equally impressive in play. His splitter has an average of a -6 launch angle, the lowest allowed average launch angle of any pitch among all starting pitchers. After years of struggling against lefties driving the ball in the air, he's now introducing a higher ground ball rate against lefties than righties in 2024. These adjustments have led to significant improvements in his performance. This season, lefties are hitting for a .201 batting average with a .551 OPS against him. Houck was able to lower his ERA from 5.01 in 2023 to 3.01 in 2024. This season, he was selected for his first career All-Star game and looks to be a key part of the Red Sox future, largely due to his splitter. Houck was not the only person who found the splitter in 2024. Bryce Miller, a right-handed pitcher from the Seattle Mariners, has just started throwing a splitter, and it's one of the best pitches in baseball this year. Bryce Miller in 2023 showed promise, but was nowhere near a star pitcher. In 2023, he had a 4.32 ERA, and this was largely due to his struggles against lefties. In 2023, lefties hit for a .303 batting average with a .917 OPS against him. However, he was great against righties, who posted a .200 batting average and a .549 OPS against him. The lack of success against lefties was likely due to his off-speed pitches all breaking directly into lefties. In 2023, his main off-speed pitches were sliders and sweepers, and throwing this to lefties was not effective, as it's easier for them to read the pitch when it's breaking into them. He threw the slider and sweeper against lefties 25.9% of the time, and opponents hit for a .326 batting average against them. Overall, Miller had to start throwing more fastballs, and he was just bad against lefties. In 2024, he added a splitter to his repertoire. This pitch gave him a different movement in his pitching profile. But importantly, let's look at how his splitter overlays with his sinker. Both have very similar horizontal movement, breaking a slight bit armside, but the difference is the splitter has way more vertical movement. For a pitcher who relies heavily on his sinker, having a splitter to combat this is huge. Against lefties this year, Miller throws his splitter more than any pitch other than his fastball, throwing it 22.1% of the time, and lefties are hitting for a .185 batting average against it.
I needed to, find a way to get lefties out better, and I figured that would be the best route to do it.
Overall, against lefties, Miller has been great in 2024, improving his opponent's batting average from .303 to .212 and OPS from .917 to .661. Miller has broken out this year, going from an average starting pitcher with a 4.32 ERA to an all-star caliber pitcher with a 3.29 ERA. And he's only 25, throwing the splitter for the first time in his career. With more experience and development using this pitch and others, he could be a star for years to come. But what happens when an already dominant pitcher adds this pitch? Phillies right-handed ace Zack Wheeler was coming off a down year in 2023 for his standards. Wheeler knew he was on the edge of being one of the best pitchers in baseball, but needed to improve against lefties in order to reach that elite status. Lefties hit for a .261 batting average with a .722 OPS against him in 2023. His issue was, he struggled to find an off-speed pitch to combat lefties. His sweeper and curve were easy to read and broke into lefties. Then, against his changeup, lefties hit for a .500 average from 2022 to 23. Wheeler and the Phillies pitching coach Caleb Cotham saw the increased success of pitchers using splitters against batters of the opposite hand and decided to use it in 2024 instead of a changeup. Wheeler's splitter has been great since implementing it. Lefties are hitting .231 off his splitter with a really solid 36.8 whiff percentage, which makes this his second most effective pitch against lefties, and plays great with his sinker, as this has armside movement. This year, Wheeler has seen lefties' batting average against him drop from .261 to .227. As a result of the newfound success, Wheeler has a career-best 2.72 ERA, was selected for an All-Star game, and currently sits second in the NL odds to win Cy Young. The Phillies organization was one of the first to hop on the train of finding pitches with armside movement to neutralize opposite-handed batters. Most of their pitchers have developed a sinker or a splitter, and it's been very effective. It's helped careers like in the case of Jeff Hoffman. Going into 2023, Hoffman was a former first-round pick and regarded as a bust. After spring training, at 30 years old, he had just opted out of a deal with the Twins since he didn't make the team's opening day roster. The Phillies signed him for the 2023 season to a minor league deal, where he struggled in AAA. But on April 21st, one moment changed his life. The Phillies were looking for pitchers in their organization to throw live batting practice to Bryce Harper, as the two-time MVP was working his way back from Tommy John surgery. They flew Hoffman and other minor leaguers to Citizens Bank Park to give Harper live reps. Hoffman viewed this opportunity as a World Series, knowing that if he impressed here, it could be his ticket to a big league roster. Utilizing his new slider and splitter, Hoffman was so dominant that Harper struggled to consistently hit him. The Phillies were awed at how impressive Hoffman was against one of the best left-handed bats in the league. Harper said, "He was pretty dominant against me in that situation. Just the way the ball was coming out of his hand, the slider, the split, just absolutely disgusting. And in that moment, I said, if this guy isn't in the big leagues with us, I think that's a problem." A few weeks later, the Phillies decided to call up Hoffman, and he's been one of their best relievers ever since.
Swing and a miss. He got him. He threw the split to get him.
In Colorado before that, been around a while. He picks up a huge strikeout. Back to the splitter.
Swing and a miss. He got him.
In 2023, against Hoffman's splitter, lefties hit 165 with 0 home runs. His splitter has the third most horizontal arm side movement in MLB with 15.7 inches. When it is on, it might have the most arm side run out of any pitch in baseball. Look at these pitches to lefties. These are some of the nastiest pitches you might ever see. We used to never see baseballs move this way. Hoffman showed that just one opportunity can change a career, and now he's an all-star and one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. Throughout this breakdown, we've illustrated how the splitter can make a pitcher far less matchup dependent, and now they can face batters of the opposite hand with just as much success. Maybe the pitcher who nobody's talking about that has the best splitter in baseball is Mark Leiter Jr. His splitter has the highest whiff rate for any pitch in baseball at 59.5%. He throws it 39% of the time versus lefties who are hitting a 109 against it with 2 extra base hits all year. Overall, Leiter is better against lefties than righties. At the deadline, the Yankees needed a lefty reliever, but instead, they realized that they can get the same production versus left-handed batters if they used Leiter and his splitter in that spot. This creative way of thinking is what makes pitchers in baseball so unique. The game is always changing. There's not just one correct way to approach getting batters out. The splitter has optimized a new path to get batters out, and every pitcher grips and throws theirs differently. Flamethrowers are throwing variations of this pitch, and it's nasty. Johan Duran throws a splitter sinker, called a splinker, that is 97 miles per hour and has 27 inches of drop with arm side movement. Lefties hit 152 off this pitch this year, and it's a large reason he's been one of the most dominant relief pitchers in baseball. Then Paul Skeenes developed a splinker, and it's truly nasty. His splinker is 94 miles per hour with 30.4 inches of drop and arm side movement. The overlay makes it impossible to tell what pitch is coming between his fastball and his splinker. Skeenes has been overall dominant this year, but he has his most success against lefties who are hitting 190 with a 564 OPS against him. And while we're on the topic, there are other variations of the splitter working their way around baseball. Christopher Sanchez and Logan Webb both have changeups that move an awful lot like a splitter due to their arm side movement. It's exciting to see how these pitchers mess with the splitter as it grows in popularity. Kevin Gausman discussed how with just a slight movement of his thumb, he can change the pitch to either add speed or have more drop.
I'll move my thumb. Like if I want to throw it for a strike and me feel pretty confident in it being a strike, it's going to be more like here. But if I want to throw like a nasty split, I'm like almost tucking that.
The splitter has such unique movement that as more pitchers throw it and experiment with grips, there will be all sorts of different results and combinations. Going forward, this is a pitch that many starting pitchers should learn, especially for those who struggle against opponents of the opposite hand. Let's look at some starting pitchers who I think could break out with the addition of a splitter. First, Nate Pearson could use a splitter. Pearson is a former top prospect who throws around 100 miles per hour with a nasty slider, but his problem has always been 2 things: command and pitching against left-handed hitters. Pearson's struggles versus lefties moved him to the bullpen full-time. Lefties are hitting .279 against him in 2024. This isn't because he has bad stuff, it's because all of his pitches break towards lefties. Looking at his pitching profile, he has no off-speed pitches that move away from left-handed batters at all. If Pearson learned a splitter, or maybe even a splinker, he would add a pitch to his mix that dances away from lefties, making him more viable against both sides. If he adds this pitch, I believe he could become a starting pitcher again, and maybe live up to the hype he once had. Then I also think Mitch Keller should throw a splitter. Keller is already an all-star caliber pitcher, but he could improve even more with a splitter. Keller is significantly better against righties than lefties, posting a rough 788 OPS against lefties compared to a 683 OPS against righties. All of Keller's off-speed pitches move glove side towards left-handed batters. This has led to him primarily throwing fastballs to left-handed hitters, which has become very predictable. His profile shows that he only has one pitch that moves arm side, and that's his sinker. Adding a splitter would be the perfect off-speed pitch to use against lefties. Keller already throws 7 pitches and has added a new pitch almost every year of his career. If any pitcher could add a new pitch in the offseason, it would be him. This is the second revolution of a new pitch taking over baseball. Who knows, maybe baseball will have to create a new pitch type for this kind of splitter too. Personally, I would love sticking with the old school name and calling it a screwball. Even though these are definitely splitters, they move arm side, which is just like a screwball. But aside from that, I think this pitch is great for the game of baseball. It's a way for pitchers to take it to the next level without throwing 101 fastballs and with pure finesse. The widespread adoption of this pitch will help pitchers not only improve, but hopefully reduce injury risk in the ever-increasing Tommy John filled league. Please consider subscribing.